It's not just the stock market that is surging to record highs. Bitcoin also hitting an all-time high after Donald Trump was elected president. Let's talk more about what's driving the crypto trade. Michael Bucella is managing partner of Neoclassic Capital, and MacKenzie Sigalos is a technology reporter for CNBC.com. MacKenzie, let's start with you. What does the crypto community think Donald Trump will do for them in a second term? And he was no friend of crypto some years ago.
That's true. And he had this complete about face. And so in the last 6 months, he's been making a whole lot of promises to the sector. And the big one here is that he plans to fire SEC Chair Gary Gensler. Now, he can't do that altogether, but he can unseat him from that chairman seat. And that's why you're seeing stocks like Coinbase and Robinhood on an absolute tear today. Coinbase is up 30%. Its CEO, Brian Armstrong, is $1.6 billion richer today. And that's because they've been fighting the SEC for over a year now. That's why they put $75 million into a pro-crypto PAC called Fairshake, which is one of the top spenders this cycle. Meanwhile, you have Robinhood. Now, they received a Wells notice from the SEC. Their stock is up 20% because, hey, they haven't been sued yet. And perhaps with a change of leadership at the top of the SEC, that lawsuit might not come to fruition. Another big promise from Trump on the campaign trail was that he'd be a big backer of the Bitcoin mining industry. And that's why you're seeing stocks up more than 20%. I'm looking at 22% up for Riot, CleanSpark. These are guys who've been meeting with Trump behind closed doors in Mar-a-Lago and also in Nashville, talking to him about how he plans to invest a lot of money in building out a more robust energy and transmission infrastructure. These are very big promises.
These guys suck up a lot of power.
Yeah. And so that kind of build out would be hugely instrumental to their business.
And what about this idea of creating a national sort of crypto reserve? What would the purpose of that be? And obviously it would be, I guess, good for crypto.
Yeah. So in July, Donald Trump talked about this idea of a national crypto stockpile, which is not quite the same thing as a strategic reserve. But what it would do is the $15 billion worth of Bitcoin that the government has amassed from these seizures as part of, criminal sting operations, it would keep that. And then anytime they have future operations, it would hold on to that. And so suddenly you have all of this Bitcoin being taken out of the supply, because as of now, the U.S. Marshals Service will auction them off periodically. And when governments do that, like Germany did this summer, it auctioned off hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. That was a boon to the price. Or not a boon, it did the exact opposite.
The exact opposite. It would sell, you were selling it.
Mike Bucella, how are you placing your bets for the next couple of months, years now?
I think the knee-jerk reaction higher, about 8-9%, was roughly priced in. Actually, it was priced in pretty well by the options market, so there's no surprise there. But I think I generally, as a rule of thumb, trust markets, not politicians. So I'm very happy the way that Trump kind of got behind the industry. But I think more than anything else, perception matters more than most, both policy perception, perception of support, and then broadly speaking, outside of the future President Trump, we have a lot of support from Congress now. I believe only 4 states in the United States of America, so 4 out of 50 states without a pro-crypto representation in Congress. And so I think all of that comes together as a very near-term bull case for crypto. I think either way, the outcome of the election in either direction, I personally was a large buyer of crypto leading into the election because it was a de-risking agent. I think medium-term, longer-term monetary policy matters a lot more. And I think either way, we're headed for larger deficits. We're headed for larger liquidity cycles. And so from my perspective, go on.
Well, I wanted you to finish the thought, Michael, but I just wanted to say on that note about larger deficits, there are some who think this is now a turning point and that while not going away, that they start getting smaller on the margin. And if that's true, and depending on the dynamics, could you actually see crypto kind of lose a little bit of its steam here?
I think they won't. I think they won't grow at the pace they've been growing, but I don't see them shrinking anytime soon. And so I think, again, either way, we're in a position where the next 2 cycles, so-called the next 8 years, we're in a very good position for liquidity cycles for crypto. And again, it's just like any investment. If the opportunity remains the same and the risks decrease by half or more, you should be investing in that asset. That's kind of the way that I see this working out.